Hello, here we are with episode 18 of Sanibel Chronicles. I'd like to welcome you all back. I'd like to welcome the new subscribers, and most importantly, those individuals who consistently like what I'm doing by giving me a thumbs up on YouTube. That means a lot. It means a lot to me personally and a lot to helping this channel grow, to bring you stories about Sanibel Island and the nearby coastal areas of Southwest Florida. Today is the second to the last episode dealing with sea turtles, and I'm going to do this a little bit different. So we'll get started. First of all, everything we did in our sea turtle investigations was accomplished under permit from the state of Florida. This first image is the first state permit we received to conduct our egg transplantation program, our tagging program, and investigating sea turtle populations on other islands along the Southwest Florida coast. As I mentioned earlier, we had grown by the early 1970s, and at that time there were more people coming into sea turtle studies along the Florida coast, and Florida decided to issue special sea turtle permits. And in 1972, I was granted the first sea turtle permit, STP-001, and here is my present day license tag. I held this permit for 40 years. I relinquished it in 2012, I believe. I tried to get the state to retire it, but their regulations insist that sea turtle permits be renewed on an annual basis, so they couldn't do that. But I still have my sea turtle tag on my automobile. And I should note that the new sea turtle permits are MTP, marine turtle permits. Back in the 70s, sea turtle biologists couldn't decide on the proper name, whether they should be sea turtles or marine turtles. And after much consternation, they decided to classify them as marine turtles. I think it was sort of to match marine mammals and marine birds. So the STP is no longer in use. I didn't mention, but in 1976, Coretta Research, still associated with the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation, I was given the Florida Governor's Award pin. This is a shot of it at a large meeting over on the east coast of Florida. And this next slide is it's me giving a certificate of appreciation to Ed Joyce. Ed Joyce was the director of the state's marine laboratory in St. Petersburg, and he came up with the new sea turtle permits. So since I had number one, I wanted to at least give him an award. And left to right in this photograph, if I can enlarge it on my iPad and see it, left to right is the late Ed Phillips, who was an important person in Coretta Research. Next is Richard Beatty, me, Jim Anholt, Jim Vanis, Paul Zajac, Ed Joyce holding the certificate, Pat Hagan, And on the right is Lucy Pond from Englewood. She is deceased. Now to talk about sea turtles in this episode, I'm going to call on some things that I created. Back in the 1970s, I started carving the 5 species of sea turtles that are known to inhabit the Gulf of Mexico. And the first one that is being shown now is my carving of a loggerhead sea turtle. Now, all of these sea turtles you see are to scale, although it doesn't show that way in these images. This loggerhead turtle, the actual size, the shell is about 4 inches long. And the loggerhead is the most common sea turtle in the Gulf of Mexico. It's the only one that I dealt with on the beaches along the coast. The green turtles, the leatherbacks, and Kemp's Ridleys, they came after I had left the field. The next one, if I can find it, and I sort of did these in ascending or descending occurrence. The next one is the green turtle, which is overall generally larger than a loggerhead. And this carapace on this turtle is just a little bit longer than that loggerhead shell. The green turtle, back in my day, never nested on these barrier islands. In October of 1959, I did find a live green turtle on the beach, quite high up on the beach, on the lighthouse property. But that's the only live green turtle I saw actually on the beach. The next turtle is the leatherback turtle. This carving, the turtle's carapace, is about 7 inches long. They are the largest of the sea turtles. The record weight for a leatherback sea turtle is just over 2,000 pounds. The saltwater crocodile is often called the world's largest reptile, but I believe insofar as weight is concerned, the leatherback turtle is certainly the world's largest reptile. The next image is the Kemp's Ridley. It's the smallest of all 7 species of sea turtles that inhabit the globe. The shell on this one is about 3 inches long, approximately. The Kemp's Ridley nests primarily on the Gulf Coast of Mexico, but in the last few years, individuals have been found nesting on other coasts along the East Gulf of Mexico and also the lower Atlantic coast. I recently saw a count for the 2024 nesting season, and 22 Kemp's Ridleys have nested on Florida beaches through June of 2024. The next turtle occurs occasionally in these waters. It is the hawksbill turtle. They've never nested on Sanibel. There is no record of one occurring on the beaches here. However, there are a few records of them being observed and even caught fairly close to Sanibel Island. This next carving is one I did just for the fun of it, depicting tiny loggerheads erupting from the sand, and 3 of them spread out heading for the beach. Now, all of these carvings, the turtles and this entire carving of the young turtles, they were carved from basswood. They were all on different types of woods the bases are made from different types of wood. The group of hatchlings and the loggerhead are on, I believe, black walnut. As a point of interest, the hawksbill turtle base is made from our native black mangrove. That's just an overview of the 5 species that occur here. As I mentioned, there are 7 species worldwide. There is another ridley called the olive ridley that occurs primarily in the Pacific Ocean. It was once known as the Pacific ridley, but there is a population in northern South America, on the Atlantic coast of South America. So they're increasing in numbers in the Atlantic basin, and I wouldn't be surprised if one day we get reports that the olive ridley has been found in the Gulf of Mexico, especially with global warming. And another indicator of global warming, for those that don't accept it, even though it's true, is that a green sea turtle recently hauled out on one of the large islands off of Massachusetts. It didn't nest, but it actually crawled out during nesting season. I found that quite interesting. So not only are some plants now growing further north along the coast, but nesting sea turtles are emerging further north. Just one of many indicators that global warming is a fact. Now I want to go back in time. Over the years, whenever a television program occurred that had something to do with our operations in sea turtle conservation, I would always, if I knew about it, I would record it off the television. So this video that's upcoming is a composite, a collection of many of those videos that appeared on our local channels. The first one was rather unique. 40 years ago, TBS, the large major network channel, had a series they called Nice People. And for some reason, someone put them in touch with me, telling them I was a nice person. And for those of you who actually know me, know that I really am. But you have to get to know me first, I think. So I'm going to start these videos, and I hope you enjoy them. One is that Nice People presentation. It covers more than turtles, but it's wildlife oriented. And then there's a few clips on dredging operations at South Seas Plantation back in the 80s. And CHRONICLES Research was contracted with South Seas to move sea turtle eggs in advance of the dredging spoil being deposited on the beach. So we moved eggs every morning to a hatchery site at South Seas, and then there's a clip of some of the CHRONICLES Research people actively releasing the young turtles into the beach. So it's a good series of information, and that's what this is all about. Now the next episode, 19, will be the grand finale of the sea turtle episodes. So next episode will be a film that we produced in the early years of CHRONICLES Research that covers most aspects of loggerhead turtle nesting and egg production and hatchlings. So watch for that next time. Then after that, we'll get back to non-sea turtle presentations, and we'll begin with a program on the development of the Bailey Tract on Sanibel that is part of J.N. Ding-Darling National Wildlife Refuge. So again, thank you for subscribing. That is very important. Please share Sanibel Chronicles, the fact that they exist, with other people that are interested in these barrier islands, and your friends and family. And please don't forget to take the time to like these presentations. That means a lot. So enjoy the 40-year-old videos. With that, I'll say goodbye.
Noah, a man dedicated to taking care of animals. But instead of an ark, Charles has his collection on a beautiful island. Tina Selden has more about the life's work of this animal-loving preservationist.
This is Sanibel Island, a strip of land about 12 miles long and 2.5 miles wide off the southwest coast of Florida. A full 1/3 of the island, some 5,000 acres, is a wildlife refuge, the Ding-Darling National Wildlife Refuge to be exact. Endangered and threatened species live and multiply here thanks to the efforts of this man, Charles LeBuff.
Basically, I'm a preservationist. I think my real gut feeling is to preserve what we have and make progress very slowly when it comes to manipulating the environment.
Charles is Director of Research at Ding-Darling, where he looks after nearly 300 species of birds along with other animals on Sanibel and the little islands around it.
This particular one is Bird Island. Even though it's fairly close to the intercoastal waterway, it still has tremendous use for its size. And this particular island is one that was established as a national wildlife refuge back in 1907.
For 25 years, he has dedicated his life to undoing some of the harm man has done to wildlife through chemical pollution and simple carelessness.
One of the worst enemies these birds have today is monofilament fishing line. They get tangled up in the line, their feet are in their beak with the fish hook, and they fly in here to roost at night, and that line gets tangled up to a tree, and they hang there and die. I have a lot of ambition in the things that I'm doing to enhance the environment for wildlife. I get a great deal of satisfaction out of that. And then in my spare time, I do a great deal of work in loggerhead sea turtle conservation. I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. It's very rewarding to me.
Years ago, Charles started an organization called Research, all volunteers who wanted to help protect the threatened loggerhead turtle and her eggs. Nearly every night of the week during nesting season, Charles drives his Jeep along Sanibel's coastline looking for turtle mothers-to-be like this one.
Well, I think I first learned of the problems loggerheads were facing when I was a teenager in Naples, and I saw nests that were being destroyed by raccoons and poaching that was going on, people stealing eggs from turtle nests. And when I came to Sanibel, I had the opportunity to begin to monitor the nests that were deposited here on this beach. Then the community sort of got involved and have supported it. Well, I had a family out last night, a family from Fort Myers, a man and woman and their 2 children. And we found a turtle nesting. They watched the entire thing, and I think not only was it fascinating for the entire family, but I think the children had a tremendous education, something that they'll never get out of books, never get out of school.
Awareness and a deeper appreciation of our nation's wildlife. That's what Charles is working for, so that one day these animals won't need a refuge like this one in order to be safe.
Many things that we see today, loggerhead turtles, these brown pelicans that we've seen this afternoon, will become more seriously imperiled and probably disappear. So unless we get a real intense interest developed again in wildlife, in the outdoors, then things that I've worked so hard for all my life, future generations won't see.
Return at least 2 times again before August. Now that man encroaches on their territory, the turtles need protection.
These turtles have been around for about 137 million years, and they still need a great deal of help. They've been successful. We camouflage the nest because many people who come to the islands now are uninformed about the problems that face sea turtles.
Coretta Research Institute is looking for more volunteer turtle controllers. If you want
fewer turtles than usual. Greg Smith went out to see why.
This is her track going back into the Gulf, right along through here. The track is about here in width.
pretty good size.
Average size turtle, she probably had a shell about 40 inches long, and she may have weighed 285 pounds.
Charles LeBuff has been tracking loggerhead turtles for 23 summers now, looking for signs of turtles and turtle nests in the darkness. Friday night, when we went along, he spotted only a few nests and false crawls, or practice runs female turtles make on the beach. The female loggerheads drag themselves out of the murky Gulf and onto the beach to lay eggs from May through August. The turtles, which look like this one in a museum, may nest as many as 6 times a year, laying hundreds of eggs per nest, but less than 1% will ever reach adulthood. That's why Charles LeBuff is checking the Sanibel beaches every night. He's a member of Coretta Research, a title based on the loggerhead's scientific name. Members of Coretta tag turtles and even relocate nests if they're endangered by predators or beach erosion. In 1959, LeBuff found 450 turtle nests, last year 75, and this year only 12. Based on that number, he expects to find only 60 nests all season.
Destruction of nests on the beach, attrition of hatchlings by predators at sea, birds and fishes, and then the loss of adults in the breeding population by accidental, the turtles accidentally get caught in shrimp trawls offshore. All of these things just drain the population.
But LeBuff says it's not too late to save the loggerheads, so he and Coretta are doing what they can to see that the turtles don't fade out of our lives forever. Greg Smith, TV 20 Eyewitness News.
Eroding miles of shoreline. Today, however, a controversial beach renourishment project began on the island. Greg Smith reports that if the project is as successful as officials hope, it could open the gates for more renourishment in the future.
An army of men and dredging equipment settled along the beachfront at South Seas Plantation. 2 years of red tape and bickering over environmental problems were over. South Seas had been fighting for the privately funded $3 million project to restore its beaches eroded by the Gulf of Mexico. Officials expect the beach renourishment to last at least 10 years, barring some disaster.
Even under the conditions of a hurricane, when you talk about cost effectiveness, the placement of the fill could still protect the upland property, and of course would more than justify the expenditure just a protection of the life and property that's involved out here on South Seas Plantation.
Groups opposing the project said the offshore dredge would spoil 65 acres of productive Gulf shoal, but a settlement was reached allowing the dredging from July through October. Organized commercial fishermen who originally opposed the dredging said they'd be here to monitor the project. As the dredge started this morning, there was no sign of the fishermen. Now that the controversy over the project has apparently been resolved, the chairman of the Captiva Erosion Prevention District says the remaining 3 miles of the island will be next.
I think when the people on the island see this positive step in what I believe is the right thing, they'll be encouraged to accelerate and follow through with the rest of the island.
The renourished beach will be monitored to see how well it withstands erosion. If it's successful, the rest of the island could also be receiving a facelift by this time next year. Greg Smith, TV 20.
This is during the renourishment project that's going on Captiva Island. Members of a turtle research group called Coretta rescued 8 nests from the path of bulldozers, and Greg Smith was there today when they released more than 100 baby turtles.
They look so delicate as babies, but these tiny turtles can grow into 300-pound loggerheads, if given the chance. Eve Haverfield and her son Tracy are the ones responsible for giving them the chance to live to adulthood. As a member of Coretta Research, she's been combing the shore on Captiva Island, where a beach renourishment project would have doomed turtle nests. Since July 1st, they've replanted 8 nests, waiting for the day when the little ones hatch and follow their instincts to the Gulf. The mother of this little guy and all these others came ashore about 55 days ago. She laid her eggs in the sand, and now the sun has done its job incubating all the eggs, and they're ready to go back to the sea. Like a pack of homesteaders, the turtles slithered into the waves. Ironically, the dredging that would have buried them will provide future generations with a nice beach for nesting.
We hope that they're imprinted and on Captiva and that they will return to the site. There's going to be a satisfactory beach here for them to nest in 6 to 10 years from now.
But before they return here, these turtles have a rough life ahead. Many predators consider the babies delicacies, and under natural conditions, only 1 out of 400 would survive. But thanks to people like Eve and Tracy Haberfield, perhaps more will return to this beach.